Raceway hosts the opening round of the 2008 Aussie Racing Car Series. And these pocket-sized races have been wowing crowds across the country since the series' inception in 1996. And this year, the gloves are off. Defending champion Brad Ward is back, but there is a host of other drivers who won't make this an easy fight. One of those is a very familiar face.
Pretty good fun. Love the cars to drive, and it's also good for the younger guys to have someone to race against, like myself. So just putting something back into the sport, really. These little cars are all about carrying corner speed, keeping the momentum up, and with the supercar, you've got a lot of power there, and you're really looking after the rear tyres a lot. But with this car, it's just flat out all the way.
It certainly is exciting. Aussie Racing Cars kicking off a new year at Eastern Creek Raceway in Sydney. Russell Ingall's with me, and good teammate here. He looks pretty fired up.
Oh, absolutely. And when you look at the Eastern Creek circuit with these Aussie race cars, where are the passing spots? Every single corner. You name it, they'll stick it in somewhere.
Let's take a look at the way that they'll line up. Massive field of cars. The former champ Paul Kamal will start from pole position alongside Nick Simmons. But these cars, they just keep on coming. The field is massive.
I just love these. This category has got to be the best, one of the best race categories out there for entertainment. Just fantastic.
Paul Morris, starting from 14th. He's got a little bit of work to do in the super cheap auto machine.
I had a few engine dramas with that car, and he is down a little bit. Usually he's right up the pointy end, but this is what's going to make it good. He's going to carve his way through.
We'll be in car with Paul as well as with James Ward in the Yokohama tyres machine, which starts from 8th spot, but it's Paul Kamal on pole position alongside Nick Simmons. A new year of Aussie Racing Cars. Great start from Paul Kamal, even better start from back in the pack. Peter Carr in the red machine there, going around the outside at turn 1. Richie Rapper in 2nd spot.
Fantastic getaway by Kamal. He's just really on fire at the start. Listen to the engines changing down. Fantastic. Sequential box.
And you can hear the 1.2-litre Yamaha twin-cam engine really screaming hard.
Morris has already picked off 4 or 5 cars in the opening 2 corners.
Here's a lunge. Sheridan Phillips up the inside of Adam Gowans from Tasmania. But it's Paul Kamal, the former champ, leading the way from Nick Simmons.
Everywhere you look down the field, there's cars 2 and 3 wide.
Do you like your racing close?
Do you get any closer than that? I just love listening to him. Listen to the scream of the engine. Listen to that. Beautiful.
Morris makes a move on Brad Ward, last year's champion in the #1 machine.
Now we're coming up to the last series of turns. Now these cars tow very well. What we mean by tow, there's a slipstream. You get up behind another car, it actually tow you along and slingshot you out. So you watch down the straight here. This is where they'll all fan out.
They weigh in at 450 kilograms and produce 125 horsepower at a screaming 11,500 RPM. And now that slipstream's playing into account.
There we go. Watch him tow him. See? As soon as he gets in the tow, he just comes right up onto the tail end and straight out. 3 wide, turn 1. I tell you what, these guys are keen. Plenty of sideways action. Look how nervous they are. They're just always twitchy, always on the edge.
They're like go-karts on steroids. Turn 2. The leaders have just started to edge away. Look, a little bit of contact there, but Nick Simmons has taken the race lead.
Yeah, you've got to watch with these cars, though. You can't hit too hard because they're only fiberglass bodies and they will break very easy.
Plenty of action already in race 1 of the season. Nick Simmons with his arm out the window there through Corporate Hill. That's got them all stacked up. Has he got a problem?
Must have. I thought the safety car was out there for a minute, but no, it looks like he definitely's got a problem. That's a shame. He was on fire.
Oh, we could hear a car in the background gurgling and burbling, and I think that may have been his car. So he's got real problems, Nick Simmons, in race 1. The Aussie Racing Cars continue at Eastern Creek after the break. Welcome back to Eastern Creek Raceway. It's the first race of a new year of the Aussie Racing Cars at Eastern Creek Raceway. We're in car with James Ward. And we just got 2 spots.
The slipstream effect is so great in these cars. Look at that, 2 cars in one hit, and just look how much they twist and turn. I reckon James is going to fight down the inside of all of them here. It's Richie Rapper. He's going to hang it in on the outside.
He's on the inside for the next one at turn 3. Here's a replay. James Ward up on the exit curb at turn 12.
Oh, I tell you what, not much grip out there, but he's done so well to hold on to that.
It's still sideways. Fight for the lead. Paul Kamal into turn 9. Here comes Ward.
Classic move, straight down the inside. Turn 9, perfect for it.
So from 8th place, he's taken the lead in 8 laps.
That's great, but I'll tell you what, Kamal does not give up. He will fight to the end. Good thing about these guys too, they race hard, but they race fair. You know, they realise these cars, you know, they're twitchy, they're nervous, but they give each other respect and produce such good racing. You watch Kamal tie up on the back. As soon as he gets over about 120 kilometres an hour, up it comes. There you go, straight through.
Really does become a high-speed game of chess for that last lap. Richie Rapper making a dive at turn 1.
Oh, that's game.
That's big stuff.
Tightened up the seatbelts on that one.
Now, Kamal and Ward fighting for the lead into turn 2. Bit of a rub there too.
I'll tell you what, no one ever leads a full lap in this category. There's just lead changes every single lap. It's fantastic.
You're lucky if you lead consecutive corners, let alone laps.
I'm not sure whether I want to race it.
Oh, Paul Kamal out through the sand.
No grip out there.
He goes back to 4th. It's easy to do that at the exit of turn 3.
But that's the good thing about it. He's down to 4th, but he knows he'll hang on to it. Oh, looks like he just got a lot of understeer going into that corner. Just lost a bit of aero off the front and just went straight off.
James Ward just managing to edge away. Kamal on the charge. He's back to 3rd. Now he's looking for position 2. That was tight.
Bit of a nudge down the main straight.
Now he's got the run.
Oh, I'm not sure, though. I'm not sure. I reckon Rapper's going to come back on him.
This is brave.
Who's the bravest?
Kamal hangs on, but Peter Carr in 4th place is very well positioned here to make a move.
Well, that's why these guys got to be careful not to fight too hard, because the leader will get away. So they've got to work together a little bit.
Racing drivers working together.
Doesn't happen too often, I've got to tell you. But like I said, these guys know the deal. And if they just concentrate and get their head down, they can pick Ward back up again and have another go at him coming down the main straight.
Rapper, position 3. The 19-year-old in his 2nd year of Aussie Race Cars. Here's the dude, Paul Morris, up the inside of Nick Lowe.
Down the bottom of Corbett Hill. Oh, and a bit of a hip and shoulder on the way. Look at this, too wide everywhere. Look how much wheel movement, always correcting. Oh, and a wave, very polite. Just like we do in the V8 supercars, bit of a wave on the way through.
Yeah, right. David Lawrence in the Valvoline machine just slipping through there. You could have been forgiven for thinking it was a V8 supercar race that had been through the washing machine. There were a few V8 liveried machines. But as you mentioned, Kamal is back on board with a couple of corners to go. Now, this is Sheridan Phillips and Adam Gowans, but Kamal is still a chance.
Absolutely. Look, he's got straight on the back of him. It's going to be interesting. A slipstream duel coming out of this last turn. Going to be really clean, really smooth on the power. I'll tell you what, Kamal's going to be in a pretty good position here if he gets a good toe.
He's right, tucked up beneath the rear wing of the Yokohama machine.
Okay, he's going to pull out in a minute. Here
He's going to go for it, so the checkered flag is flying. This is going to be close.
He's got it. He's got it.
James Ward has got it by 0.0017 of a second.
You are kidding. How can you get any closer than that? Can you get any closer?
Good luck doing that.
Good respect for each other.
Good race. James Ward first, Paul Kamal second by the narrowest of margins, a coat of paint.
Good to see. Good sportsmanship after the race too.
So James Ward takes race 1. His brother Brad's defence for his championship has not begun in the best way possible. James Ward the winner from Paul Kamal. Richie Rapper third with the fastest lap of the race, and Paul Morris went from 14th to 7th as Kyle Clues rounds out the top 10.
One of the first things you notice about an Aussie racing car is its size, and while on TV they may look normal, they're actually just over half scale of a normal road car, and when you get up close to them, they're deceptively small. As you can see, the driver's seat is positioned quite far back, almost where the rear windows in a normal car would be. The seat's also positioned slightly off-centre, of course, not right where most Australian cars are. The Aussie racing cars are, of course, all about safety. It's paramount in this sport. There's a space frame chassis, 5-point harness, and despite what you might think, there's actually quite a bit of room in here, enough for the driver to go racing.
We'll rev up for more racing in the Aussie race cars at Eastern Creek after the break. And Sheridan Phillips all chasing, but turn 2, always a great place for overtaking. And then this at turn 1, Ward, Morris and Kamal. Contact, sending James Ward off the circuit. Morris was gone too. Kamal through the sand, and in the end, it was only light contact, but it was enough to send them all firing to the outside of turn 1. It left Ben McCashney a comfortable winner in race 3 as we get set for the final race, race 4. Paul Kamal and Peter Carr on the front row of the grid. Ben McCashney and Sheridan Phillips will start from row 2, and Paul Morris with a bit more work to do from 7.
Yeah, Paul was right in the thick of it in race 3, and if you enjoyed the first couple of races, wait for this one.
Morris Massini, starting from 13th, has been right up there in the Masters Cup this weekend. That's a championship within a championship for drivers over the age of 35 years in the older bodied cars. But can you believe the size of this field?
Just gets, every time I look at it, just gets bigger and bigger. I don't know where they're going to fit them all, Sam. Lucky they're small.
Brad Ward starting way back in 27th place. Race 4 in the Aussie racing cars, and from the second row of the grid, Sheridan Phillips makes a great jump, but it's Peter Carr who's trying to edge across before they get to turn 1.
Yeah, Kamal was a little bit slow on the initial takeoff, but he got hooked up after that and pulled back in. Not too many people beat Kamal off the line.
Well, listen to them screaming down to turn 2. Kamal the leader. Paul Morris up the inside of Ben McCashney. They made contact here earlier on in the weekend, but they're through comfortably this time.
Morris is already up to 4th, past 3 cars on the opening 100 yards. So,
up the inside at turn 4.
Make that 4 cars.
Oh, problem. A bit further back in the pack.
Looks like the bodywork's just moved over on the front tyre, so he's had a bit of a rub up. Big lock up for Morris. You can get away with that a few times, locking up front tyres. You don't want to do it too often though, otherwise it'll flat spot a tyre and you'll get a lot of understeer in the car.
How's this for pressure? Turn 9.
Good old inside into turn 9. Didn't make it too hard for him.
Here's a replay of the start from on board the Super Cheap Auto machine with Paul Morris, and it hooked up.
Listen to the revs. Just love the sound of these engines.
Putting some real pressure on. The fight for the lead now is between the Pauls, Kamal and Morris. And Morris has got the inside for the next corner.
Because of the size of these cars, they can run too wide a lot of the corners because they stay on the clean part of the track. So you wonder why other categories can't do it? That's why. It's just a little bit narrower and they can fit.
Paul Morris leading the way in race 4, the Aussie racing cars at Eastern Creek. The micro machines of Aussie Motorsport at Eastern Creek, and this is Ben McCashney pulling out of the slipstream into turn 1 on Paul Morris, going for the lead.
Yeah, look, with these cars, a lot of racecraft, you've got to decide whether you want to lead the last lap or not. Sometimes it's actually not better. It's better to actually leave it and slipstream for the lead.
Morris defending into 2. Kamal lunging up the inside as McCashney tries to hang tough on the outside, which you can do because you're on the inside for the next one.
Yeah, but you don't want to leave too much of a hole because you only leave a couple of inches, someone's going to fire down there.
McCashney takes the lead from Morris. Kamal, Nick Simmons is back up there and in the fight. Morris going back for the lead.
He loves that corner, Morris. He feels pretty confident throwing the car down there.
So the Super Cheap Auto Machine leads the way, which begs me to ask the question, when are you going to have a go at one of these?
Paul's trying to get me in it, but I'm just not real sure at the moment. These guys play for keeps, you know. I might get dusted.
McCashney up the inside. Morris gave him plenty of room. Nick Simmons up to third. So much passing goes on in Aussie race cars. It's hard to figure it all out, but we can't figure that out. Nick Simmons contact at turn 2.
Now, that's very unusual. He did...
Whoa, car loose.
Oh, look out.
It's a car park down there now.
Doesn't look like he can get it started either.
Let's have a look at it again.
Kamal just locked an inside front wheel, just gave him a little bit of understeer and just pushed him in the corner. I don't think it was deliberate, bit of a mistake.
He's out of the race. We restart race 4. One lap screamer. James Ward up the inside into turn 1.
Look at the toe you get off of him and just toe past. It's not because the guy's got a better engine, purely because of the toe you get behind another car.
Morris and McCashney down at turn 2.
And Morris has decided he wants to lead this race, so he's going to have a go and try and get to the front.
Side by side, not many categories you can do that in. Now, he's setting up the run for the next corner.
He's going to stay on the outside for sure around here. There's plenty of grip actually on the outside of that corner, but it starts to narrow out from here on. You don't want to be too wide through this section.
Oh, he's a little bit sideways on the exit of 5. Now the question is, do you want to lead coming out of turn 12?
I think I'd, big smoking wheel right hand front of Morris's. I'd probably rather sit where Paul is at the moment and try and toe up on the line.
Through Corporate Hill for the final time. Ben McCashney leading the way at the moment.
Well, Paul's got it nailed.
Oh, he's in the gap.
Just tapping on the throttle to get a help turned in for the corner.
Just slightly compromised his run off turn 9, and that's allowed James Ward and Paul Kamal to close.
I'll tell you what, I reckon Morris is in the prime spot here. I reckon if he gets a good run out of 12 the last corner, he can probably toe up to him.
A little bit of contact, excuse me, coming through.
Or you could probably just tap him out the way, one or the other.
It seems to work. Now it's a drag race. James Ward is in the slipstream. McCashney's got no one to go with him. But Paul Morris is going to hang on. He takes race 4. Wow.
That was close. That was close. As always with these cars, just a fantastic race. Best category for watching motor racing for sure.
Oh, it's been simply sensational to kick off 2008. Paul Morris gets the win from James Ward. Ben McCashney shuffled back to 3rd there. Brad Ward from the rear of the field manages to finish in 9th. Maurice Massini, the best of the Masters Cup drivers this weekend. Have to have a lie down after all of that.
Well, great way to start the season, you know, to win the round, that's for sure. Probably dropped the tyre pressures of the rear a little too much in that race and seemed to struggle a bit, but no, real happy. VIP Pet Foods Falcon's going great, so it's a solid run for the rest of the year.
Fantastic racing once again from the Aussie race car. Paul Kamal leads the championship by only 1 point from McCashney, and then a further point down to Morris, so it's going to be a tight one all the way this year.
Round 3 of the Aussie Racing Cars is next weekend at a track that certainly will suit them. Wakefield Park in Goulburn, the V8 Supercar Championship Series. Round 3, we head across to Tasman to Hamilton on April 19 to 20. So the champagne flies with round 1 of the Aussie Racing Cars at Eastern Creek. On behalf of Russell Ingall, I'm Aaron Noonan. We'll see you next time.